Welcome, everybody. John Zager. JohnZager.com. How's everybody doing today? Good? Good. So, another beautiful day on the eastern slope. Cool. I think it's supposed to get up to 64 today. It's chilly. There's a little breeze. Cools it down a little bit. And then Friday and Saturday, tomorrow and the next day, it's supposed to be 70 and 70. And then Sunday is rain, and then Monday is snow. I don't know how much of that will come true and how much won't. So the past few days, between podcasting and YouTube video and blogging, we've been talking about self-image and how we got our self-image and how we became who we are, right? And we also talked about personalities and personality development and how and what people are doing when you interact with them these days. Now understand there's been a lot of people in this pandemic episode of the last couple years, I guess, that their lives have changed, their thinking has changed, their self-image has changed, their personalities have changed, and we're talking to a different group of people than we did 3 years, 4 years ago. And the interesting part, for me anyway, is that today these people seem, and I talked about this, I guess, 2 days ago, they all seem to be waiting for something. I don't know if they're waiting for the government to say the pandemic's over. That's not going to happen. I don't know if they're waiting to feel safe. That's not going to happen. I don't know if they're waiting for somebody to, the checker flag goes down. We're done. It seems like they've all been traumatized. Well, a large majority of them have been traumatized, and a lot of them are just waiting to die. They don't have a direction. They don't have a program. They don't have a, what do we do now? Are we still supposed to stay indoors, or, can we go outdoors, or how come we can't get together in groups and have the restaurants and blah, blah, blah. So that's another aspect of what we talked about. And I've had some conversation. I mean, my background's 52 years of clinical psychology and neuroscience. And, I have some pretty strong views about how that has needed to change. And I think the industry even is going in that direction. Neuroscience just seems a lot easier to comprehend, understand, and apply. And you don't have to re-traumatize people. That's changed. So, sticking with self-image, I kind of want to just finish and close that chapter. Okay? And it has to do with how we close that chapter. Each person, how do they close that chapter of self-image? And Dr. Joe Dispenza, who's the cutting edge of neuroscience and treatment, always is the first one there to give you the direction. And he, not too long ago, concluded that there's a formula. Because your self-image has clearly gotten bruised. You were given a program that included your self-image. Pandemic and other nasty things came along, and you needed to make some changes in order to survive. And it's my understanding that, Dr. Joe came up with a formula. And if you go to his workshops and seminars and lectures and everything that you can get your hands on, you can kind of get that formula and start applying it. I'm going to I started giving you guys the same thing yesterday, and I said I would come back and readdress it today, not knowing if I was articulate enough about it. I wrote a blog this morning. Go find it. It's everywhere, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to say the word formula in my understanding of changing your program, right? Changing your self-image, redesigning your personality, and here's how it kind of goes. And I'm going to repeat a couple things that I talked about yesterday just to reference to that point. There was an old guy in my neighborhood when I was growing up as a little kid. His name was George. He was in his 80s. He and his wife, and he worked for the railroad, and pretty well-to-do, high-end person in the railroad industry. And had a nice home next to ours, and his yard was pristine and meticulous, and you could see by his personality the way that he and his wife would interact and the way they kept everything. He was very clear with who he was and the picture of who he was supposed to be, and the kind of work he was supposed to do, and the kind of relationship he ended up being in. And he used to sit out front in the evening in the summertime in this beautiful, beautiful, lush green yard. And he used to pick, I'm not sure about this. I think it's clover. I never saw a weed in his yard. So he might have been picking just clover, which a lot of people like to have in their yard. At any rate, his yard went from pristine to far and above exceeding pristine. And I would watch him sitting on my porch over into his yard, and he would be meditating, but he didn't know he was meditating. They didn't even have meditation of his understanding. And what he was doing was reducing his brain waves, sitting there picking clover, from a beta state to an alpha state to a theta state. And when he kept going lower and lower, he didn't know this. I didn't know this. I know this now. In that he just would reprogram his program. He would reprogram his self-image. This is all being done subconsciously. As he's sitting there for hours in the evening, enjoying himself so much, he was in a state of bliss. He was overwhelmed with the amount of feeling that was generated from him meditating like he was and reprogramming his subconscious, which he didn't know he was doing. This guy was a genius when I look back now. And when I listen and go to all of these various gurus that are highly acclaimed at knowing how to make healthy changes, they're just hitting a nail on the head talking about George. So, decaffeinated coffee. So I started trying to mimic what he was doing. I wasn't really trying to meditate. I mean, I know how to meditate, but that wasn't the meditation that I was looking for. I was looking for the meditation that I think he achieved by being in almost a psychotic state of bliss. I remember a couple times walking over near his yard and trying to get his attention. He just was as content as can be and was not even hearing anybody trying to get his attention. And in turn, I would see changes in him throughout the summer. I mean, he was a very easy guy to get to know and interact with, and he was actually funny and creative, and I think he knew neuroscience before there even was neuroscience. So I was writing my blog last night. I think I wrote it like around 4 o'clock this morning, trying to somehow communicate what I learned from him unknowingly and what I've been practicing to try to emulate today in me. And it works. It works. The scary part is that it works. Now, do I do this on a regular basis? No. Would I like to do it on a regular basis? Absolutely. I can't. I'm not that good. But maybe, somebody like Dr. Joe could tell me what's going on, because I don't. All that I know is that I can, at times, achieve different states. It's all the same state of being, how you think and how you feel, to where I'm not John Zager. Sitting there, lying there, eyes open, eyes closed. I'm not me. I'm not me. And it's all good. It's all so good, it becomes scary. And when I get there, it's almost like I'm inside of my brain that's a puzzle. And I can move this piece here and this piece here, and I'm consciously aware of making neurological changes to my brain. And I don't want to leave that state of being. I don't want to leave it. I don't want to give it up. I don't want to let go of it. And there's what's the word? It's an adjunct to this whole thing I'm trying to explain. Synchronicities start happening frequently, which are indications that your intention to the universe is being heard. And then all of a sudden, this is interesting. Then all of a sudden, you start manifesting things. No, you don't get $1,000 bill or $400 in quarters or nothing like that. I came from a family that struggled, right, with emotions. So therefore, I never really felt intense love. I felt love, but not like this. And if you read neuroscience and start really getting into it, there's a place you can go, which I'm describing to you, and I'm trying to do a better job than yesterday. That is love that comes from a greater consciousness and a greater intelligence, which of course is God. I have been, I don't know, I guess more recently in the last couple, 2-3 months, maybe 6 months, moving away from God because I'm starting to question so much. And out of the sky blue, this formula I just described, right, pops up, and I start developing it. And my intention has always been materialistic. You know, I sure would like to move out of my truck and into a house. I sure would like to, have my truck run well and not keep costing me money that I don't have. There's been a lot of negative things going on with me, and so when I meditate for financial security. I just think, wow, I just need some financial security so I can get along, right? And then all of a sudden, I get a little better at this formula, and I'm in the middle of a deep trance. And the feeling becomes so authentic, I've never felt before. And my brain starts relating it to financial security. Lord forbid, do I need financial security? But all of a sudden, the love felt, the bliss, the being overwhelmed emotionally, the money becomes meaningless. It goes to that depth. Now, cool, brings me back full circle, pointed in the direction of God. I don't have a problem with that. But is that going to take care of me in financial times of need? I don't know. So I'm kind of stuck. But if I'm an old man, so when I was younger, I did drugs, as everybody did in the 60s. That was just what we did, I guess. And they were pretty cool and exciting and all that. But what I encountered through doing this formula was something I just want to go back and do again and again and again and again. It was that deep. It was that healthy, self-healing. It was that self-healing. There's been some people that have done some hideous, horrible things to me. And they kind of stick around. But you know, after getting to this spot and being able to get back there, not as often as I'd like, but still being able to get back there, the hell with them. I met a lady out on the coast, San Francisco area, and she became a good friend, older than me. And she had already figured all this out. And she had a vision like I'm getting and now have a vision of what was important is no longer important. And the bullshit I took from family and friends they don't exist anymore, and they deserve nothing. And she was able to point that out years ago. And she was able to sit there and meditate. And she could hit this spot, the nail right on the head. So all of you guys, what have I gone? 22 minutes, 23 minutes, way too long. So all of you people that have been listening to me off and on for the past week about the things that I've just talked about, that's the formula, and that's clear. If you want to go somewhere in your head, not out here, but in your head, that will answer all the questions you have cluttered up there, and put you in a state of bliss that you will agonize to get back to. Go practice. Go practice. God bless everybody. Take care of one another, and I'll look forward to talking to y'all again real soon. Thanks a lot. See you. Bye.